The next part in the tool tray is the end. So let's take our handle and hide it. And let's bring back our sketch planes so we can kind of see where we are in 3D space. We're going to start a sketch, and I think the most logical plane to start on looks like the front plane. So let's right click, view normal to the sketch plane. Okay, we're going to draw out from the origin a rough shape for the tool tray end, and then we will dimension it, creating its final shape. So let's start with our dimension tool. Let's give it a width of 4. Let's make this height, let's make that 1.5. We want these two sides to be equal. So instead of a dimension, we're going to use a constraint. Your constraints, again, just like the sheet metal tools, might be along the top if you have a big screen, or they might be in a drop down. So we're going to find the equal constraints and select both of these lines. Perfect. Okay, we also want these two lines to be equal, and we're going to put a couple dimensions on those as well. So the total height between the top and the bottom should be 3. And we want an angular dimension. So I'm clicking on that angled line and the vertical line. And I want to make sure my dimension is in this area here. And I want that to be 45 degrees. And that changes everything to be nice and perfect. Okay. So this looks good. Everything is black, so I can move on. Just double check your dimensions here and check that. All right, now that I have my sketch in 3D space, I can turn off my original sketch planes. I'm going to extrude this piece. We want to make that the same thickness as the sheet metal from the last model. So that was going to be a thickness of 0.0276 inches, and we'll check that. Okay, so now to get this to be a sheet metal model instead of just a regular 3D model, we're going to create a sheet metal model and then go through some similar steps from the handle piece. So parts to convert, this part, faces to exclude. Now this is going to get a little detailed. So we want to, if you zoom in here, you can see that it added a whole nother layer of metal, which we don't want. So I'm going to select this face to exclude, but I also want to exclude all these little pieces. So let's 3D orbit, get rid of that bottom face, the side face. You might need to zoom in very far to select that. You want to see it go away. Orbit over to the other side. If you make a mistake, you can click on it again and it will bring it back. So all of those small pieces, getting rid of those. Okay, let's go back to an isometric view. I think that is done. Okay, you should have, if you look at your faces to exclude, you should have 7. 1 for each edge and then 1 for a face. So we will be excluding those, and let's see, the thickness again should be 0.0276, and it looks like that is saved. You can see that popping up there. My bend radius, there are no bends in this, but you want to make sure that's still at 0.01. So let's check that. It turns gray, turns into a piece of sheet metal, and we can work with this. So we're going to create a couple hems. And we want that hem to be 3/8 in length. And we want it to be on the two angled pieces, just like that. Okay, check mark. Okay, I want to place a hole in the middle of this piece. It does not matter which side you do this on. I guess I will sketch on the back. We're going to start a sketch on that big face and make sure you're viewing normal to the sketch plane. I'm going to grab my center point circle tool. My circle is not on the midpoint, but I want to locate the midpoint and track it down just a little ways, and then I can left click. Before you do anything else, type your size, diameter of 1/8, enter, and then I'm going to give it one more dimension between the midpoint and the center point, and that should be 3/8. Okay, check that, extrude it so that it is a hole. And we're going to go through all, check. Okay, so this piece is called the end. Let's rename that. Okay, so now that we have those hems on there, we want to create a couple holes. Again, it does not matter which side you do these holes on. So I'm just going to use the side with the hems just because it looks better to me. So I'm going to start a sketch on this face, view normal to the sketch plane. I'm going to be doing 3 holes. So I'm going to start with my center one. I'm not clicking on the midpoint, but I'm locating it. I'm tracking it upwards and left click to place. 1/8 is my diameter. And then I'm going to put a dimension in here and say the distance between midpoint and center point should be 1/4. Perfect. Before I finish that sketch, I want to place 2 more circles. One over in that general area. I want that to be the same size, 1/8. And we're going to place 2 dimensions on this piece. Center point to an edge. That should be 1/4. And then center point to the bottom edge. Should be 3/4. Okay, great. Now I want to do the exact same thing on the other side. You have 2 options. You can either repeat that process on the other side right now, or you could create a mirror line, a construction line. I'm going to start it at the midpoint and go to the center point. And I'm going to use my mirror tool, select on that mirror line, and then click your circle, and it'll transfer it right over. So everything is black, everything is good. Check that and extrude those 3 circles to holes. Selecting all 3 and through all. Check. Okay. This piece is complete.